Is China winning the AI race? Ask that question online and you'll get a confident yes or an equally confident no. They're both wrong because they're each staring at a different scoreboard. Start with the scoreboard that scares people. 3 years ago, the gap between America's best models and China's best was about 25%. By March 2026, it had collapsed to 2.7. Basically a tie. And this is the part that makes no sense. To hold that sliver of a lead, America spent 23 times more money, $286 billion against China's 12. 23 times the cash for 2.7%. So, is China winning? It depends entirely on which scoreboard you open. And there are 5. One of these numbers settles the whole question, but it only makes sense once you've seen the other 4. Scoreboard 1. Raw capability. Whose models are actually smarter? Watch the gap. In May 2023, America leads by about 25 points. Then the line falls off a cliff to single digits, then to 2.7% by early 2026. A 25-point lead, almost gone in 3 years. And it's not leveling off. At this pace, the people who measure this think it could hit 0 inside 2 years. But smarter isn't a single number, it's who keeps shipping. From February to May alone, American labs released more than 14 frontier models. China's labs released 4. And every real frontier breakthrough traces back to the same 5 American companies. OpenAI, Google DeepMind, Anthropic, Meta, XAI. 5 labs, 1 country. That's not luck, it's a wall nobody else has climbed. At the very top, the leaders are still American, Claude Opus 4.6, Gemini 3.1 Pro. When you need the single best model on the planet, you're still reaching for one of these. And influence is even more lopsided. American papers get cited 4.2 times each on average. Chinese papers 2.8. More than half of the citations shaping whatever comes next point straight back to American research. China publishes more research than any country on Earth. America still writes the textbook everyone else studies from. So Scoreboard 1 goes to America by 2.7. But a lead that thin isn't a win. It's a warning. Because while America was spending a fortune to protect it, China was quietly winning a completely different race, and that one had nothing to do with building a smarter model. Scoreboard 2. Money. If you can't outthink your rival, you outspend them. And nobody outspends America. In 2025, the United States poured $286 billion into AI. China put in $12.4 billion. That's not a lead, it's a different sport. And all that money bought exactly one thing, a 2.7% edge. It's the same in hardware. America runs 5,400 data centers, roughly 10 times China's. Compute is the oil of this era, and America owns the wells. And the chips are almost all American. NVIDIA built 4.5 million AI processors last year, racing toward 10 million by 2027. Huawei's very best tops out at 2 to 5% of that. And China's been largely cut off from buying the real thing. They're not slowing down either. American hyperscalers will spend $650 billion on AI infrastructure in 2026 alone, more than 50 times China's entire AI budget. $650 billion in 1 year on buildings and chips. So Scoreboard 2, America spends 23 times more and leads by 2.7%, which means the money isn't what's winning the race. So what is? Scoreboard 3, efficiency. This is where the story flips. January 2025. A small Chinese lab called DeepSeek ships a model that matches the giants. And investor Mark Andreessen calls it a Sputnik moment. Because DeepSeek did it cheap. Chinese models now run at roughly 1/6 the cost of their American rivals. Same answers. 1/6 of the bill. By April 2026, Their V4 model packed 1.6 trillion parameters, running not on NVIDIA, but on China's own Huawei chips. Near-frontier performance on the exact hardware America tried to keep out of their hands. The trick is architecture. Instead of firing up the whole giant model for every question, these designs wake only the slice they need, a mixture of experts. Less compute, almost the same result. It rippled out fast. Renting AI compute inside China got 58% cheaper as a domestic build-out raced ahead of demand. The lesson lands hard. When you can't get more chips, you get more out of every chip. And China is closing the hardware gap on its own terms. Domestic chips ran less than 10% of its AI compute in 2024. By 2026, that's heading for 30 to 40%. In December 2025, China switched on the world's largest distributed AI network, 1,200 miles of linked data centers across 40 cities, running at 98% of single-site efficiency. Cut off from the best chips, China didn't stall. It built around the wall and turned the squeeze into a strategy. Scoreboard 4. Deployment. Forget who has the smartest model for a second. Who's actually using this stuff? Start with patents. In 2024, China was granted 74% of the world's AI patents. The United States? On paper, it's not close. China is filing AI inventions faster than everyone else combined. But filing isn't the same as influence. American research still pulls in more than half of the citations that matter, the ones the next breakthrough is built on. China files more. America gets quoted more. One country measures output. The other measures impact. And both call themselves the leader. Quick, 1. If these breakdowns are your thing, subscribe. It genuinely helps. Back to it. Now the factory floor. 67% of Chinese manufacturers have put AI into production. In America, 34%. And China installs new robots 9 times faster. While America argues about chatbots, China is wiring AI into the machines that build everything. And usage? In March 2026, Chinese models processed almost 13 trillion tokens. American models, 3. More than 4 times the real-world workload. The frontier may be American, but the daily grind of AI is increasingly Chinese. A lot of that runs on models anyone can download for free. Qwen, DeepSeek, ERNIE, Doubao, Hunyuan. Alibaba's Qwen alone has shipped more than 100 open models, downloaded over 40 million times. That's the quiet strategy. America sells the best AI. China gives away the good enough AI. And the developing world is taking it. Scoreboard 5. Talent. Models are built by people. So where are the people? Here's the strange part. Around half of the world's top AI researchers were born in China, but only about 11% of them still work there. More than 70% of China's elite talent works in the United States. China is the world's factory for AI talent. It just doesn't keep much of it. Look at America's top researchers. Only a third did their undergrad in the US. The other 2/3 came from abroad, and the single biggest group came from China. America doesn't just build AI. It imports the people who build it. But that pipeline is drying up. Talent moving to the US has fallen 89% since 2017. Tighter visas, colder politics, better options back home. In 2025, a star researcher named Yao Shunyu quit Anthropic over its anti-China stance and walked straight to Google DeepMind. Even inside America, the ground is shifting. So, Scoreboard 5, America still holds the talent, but the country that produces it is starting to pull it back. So, 5 scoreboards. Who actually wins? Lay them side by side. America takes capability, capital, compute, and the concentration of elite talent. China takes patents, deployment, cost, and sheer usage. Almost nothing overlaps. There was never one race. There were always two, and each country is winning its own. Which tells you where this is heading, not one global winner, but two. America ruling the frontier and the wealthy markets. China ruling cost and the developing world. Two empires built on opposite strategies and both of them profitable. Which brings us back to that one number. The capability gap, 25%, down to 2.7, and still falling, on track to hit 0 within 2 years. And that's the number that settles it, because the moment capability ties, the race stops being about who's smartest, and starts being about who's cheaper, who's everywhere, and who builds faster. And those scoreboards? China is already winning them. All of these numbers come from the Stanford AI Index, RAND, the Council on Foreign Relations, and the sources on screen. If you want more of these real numbers, no hype, subscribe. See you in the next one.